Goncourt reaffirming her influence in contemporary French literature. Intense courtroom drama in Port Louis as Mami Ravatoumang's bail hearing derails amid medical absence. Chagossian community in Mauritius voices strong support for the proposed treaty between London and Port Louis through an official House of Lords consultation. Electoral reform returns to the forefront as government alliance partners push for a system that goes beyond first past the post, echoing 2 decades of reform proposals. Victoria Hospital's spine unit strengthens specialized care as 15 patients, including 11 children with scoliosis, undergo advanced surgeries with international expertise. And world news, United States to re-examine green cards from 19 countries amid renewed national security concerns. And in sports, Portugal claims its first ever Under-17 World Cup title after a historic 1-0 win over Austria in Doha. We start this morning with news that Mauritian author Natasha Apana received the 38th Prix Goncourt for the book La Nuit au Cœur, created in 1988 with the agreement of the Académie Goncourt, and based on its election, the Prix Goncourt allows thousands of students each year to read and study works of contemporary literature. And moving to other news making headlines, a very heated hearing yesterday took place in the Port Louis court. Expected to appear for his bail application, Mami Ravatoumang ultimately did not show up, following medical advice between the FCC, which wants his swift transfer to Melrose Prison, and his cardiologist, who believes detention would hinder his recovery. Positions diverged for nearly 3 hours. The magistrate will deliver his ruling on the 1st of December. Santana Ponsono and Ashibachu give us an update.
At 4 p.m., Magistrate Prashant Bissoon announced that his ruling would be postponed, half an hour after the court's usual closing time. The hearing, initially scheduled to examine Mami Ravatoumang's bail request, quickly turned into a tense debate over his possible transfer to the Eastern High Security Prison. The main party involved in the case was absent. A medical certificate produced by Women Police Chief Inspector Arlene Raymond of the FCC and signed by a doctor at Condos Hospital stated that he was unfit to appear following a recent surgical procedure. The lawyers from both sides questioned the businessman's cardiologist, Dr. Anif Yarou, as well as Assistant Superintendent of Prisons, Alex Casimir. Representing the FCC, lawyer Trishul Naga argued that the accused would be detained in good conditions at Melrose. In contrast, Siddhartha Hawaldar, lead counsel for Mami Ravatoumang's legal team, argued that the prison environment does not have the necessary facilities to safeguard his client's health, noting that he had reportedly lost more than 10 kilos in the recent days. The exchanges grew heated several times between the lawyers, the magistrate and the witnesses. While Dr. Yarou insisted on his patient's fragile state of health, Alex Casimir remained firm, stating that Melrose Prison is fully equipped and ready to receive Mami Ravatoumang. Both sides will await the court's decision from 1 p.m. next Monday.
The voice of the Chagossians is being heard on the agreement between London and Port Louis regarding the Chagos. Since Tuesday, natives settled in Mauritius have been invited to give their opinion on an official questionnaire from the House of Lords, a key step before the final decision. They expressed themselves independently, and the majority of Chagossians say they are in favor of the treaty. We listen to this report with more on this.
Since Tuesday, Chagossians living in Mauritius have been completing the House of Lords online questionnaire with the assistance of the mobile caravan of the Ministry of ICT. This exercise, which continued this Thursday in Pointe-aux-Sables, aims to gather the views of the Chagossian diaspora on the agreement reached between London and Port Louis. The questions focus in particular on their position regarding a possible resettlement on the islands, the £40 million fund that will be made available to them, as well as employment opportunities on the Diego Garcia military base, among other topics. Edlin says she agrees with this treaty. She has been in Mauritius ever since she was a child. She got married here. Cole James Ari says, thanks to the government of Mauritius, we are progressing on this issue. Lisby says she is satisfied with the agreements, but remains distressed that they were uprooted from their native island. Their position will be decisive, especially since the majority of the native Chagossians, 322 in total, live in Mauritius. The Mauritian government is providing logistical support to facilitate the process while ensuring that participants' responses are not influenced in any way. Gavin Glover, Attorney General, says this work is being done in such a way that the Sagosians are filling in the forms independently without anybody's influence. We are here to support them who do not have access to the internet and to help them in making their choices. Minister Ramtuhol says around 178 questionnaires have been filled in the first 2 days. We have up till tomorrow, that is a total of 322 questionnaires will be completed. As part of this consultation, the Chagos Refugees Group will mobilize its members for a general assembly this Sunday at the Lisette Alat Centre. The aim is to demonstrate to the House of Lords their full support for the treaty between Mauritius and the United Kingdom. Olivier Bancoul, leader of the Chagos Refugees Group, says the majority is in favour and we do not have any other option. One must not forget that we have fought for years, and now that we are being given the chance to go there, we cannot say no. Today, these Chagosians are expressing themselves without anybody's influence. The questionnaire is also available on the UK Parliament website. The deadline for participation has been set for December 1st for the entire Chagosian diaspora in the United Kingdom, Mauritius, the Seychelles, and even elsewhere.
And on to the topic of electoral reform, a subject at the heart of the agreement between the government alliance partners, a system that must go beyond the limits of the first past the post. Since 2002 and the Sachs Commission, several reforms have been presented. Details with Didier Rose and Ashipachu.
In 2002, the Sachs Commission had already recommended adding a dose of proportional representation. Later, the Caucasian report attempted a radical shift by advocating for the complete abolition of the best-loser system, while the Sitanen and Lepe proposals refined the balance between constituency seats and proportional seats. The imminent 2025 reform, outlined by Deputy Prime Minister Paul Béranger, is built around three major pillars aimed at reshaping Parliament. First, the adoption of a hybrid system while maintaining the 60 MPs elected in constituencies. 20 new proportional seats would be added, bringing the total to 80 MPs. The goal is to correct representational distortions without undermining the stability provided by the first past the post system. Second, the abolition of the mandatory community declaration, a strong symbolic measure to de-ethnicize politics and promote Mauritianism. Finally, the fate of the BLS remains the sensitive point. While the objective is its abolition, Paul Béranger introduces a transitional nuance compared to Navin Ramgoolam's direct approach. He proposes keeping 4 community-based recovery seats only for the next election to reassure minority groups before a final elimination of the system. This compromise aims at modernizing institutions while avoiding electoral anxieties.
And moving to health-related news, at Victoria Hospital in Condos, the spine unit continues to expand its services for patients suffering from spinal conditions. 15 people, including 11 children with scoliosis, recently benefited from specialized surgical procedures carried out with the support of Danish Professor Martin Geerkren. A tour of the facility was also conducted by the Minister of Health, Anil Bechu. We take a listen to this report.
At Victoria Hospital in Condos, 15 patients, including 11 children with scoliosis, underwent surgery at the spine unit, the centralized department dedicated to surgical procedures for spinal conditions. These operations were supported by Professor Martin Geerkren, a Danish specialist in spinal surgery who regularly collaborates with the Mauritian medical teams.
They have a deformity of the spine, so the purpose of the operation is to stop the progression so they don't become cripples when they are old. And then when we do the restoration of the spine, we at the same time correct as much as possible so they get a more straight spine. It's more than 10 years now, and when we started this, there was not a lot of operation for patients in the adolescence with scoliosis, and on the initiative of the local surgeons here, we started this Odyssey.
This collaboration is part of a skills transfer initiative with 4 Mauritian doctors trained in Denmark, now able to perform spinal surgeries independently. Dr. Rabindranath Jagisar, Director, Victoria Hospital Condos, says this is a national centre attracting patients from across Mauritius. Our specialist team, trained in Denmark, meets the highest standards. The Minister of Health, Anil Bechu, visited the facility during these operations. The Minister of Health said, scoliosis is a complex condition involving the deformation of the spine. We are honored to welcome renowned specialists to work alongside our doctors in performing these surgeries.
l'opération-là.
The spine unit in Candace enhances access to specialized spinal surgery and reduces the need for patients to seek care abroad.
And you're listening to RM1. It's 9:10. We move to international news. The Trump administration has said it will re-examine green cards issued to individuals who immigrated to the U.S. from 19 countries. The head of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services said the president had directed him to conduct a full-scale, rigorous re-examination of every green card for every alien from every country of concern. When asked which countries were on the list, the agency referred to a June proclamation by the White House that included Afghanistan, Cuba, Haiti, Iran, Somalia, and Venezuela. The announcement comes in the wake of an Afghan national allegedly shooting 2 National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, gravely injuring both. And finally in sports, Portugal became under-17 world champions after its 1-0 victory against Austria yesterday at the Khalifa International Stadium in Doha. This victory gives Portugal its very first world title in this category, a historic triumph for a generation that already won the European Championship earlier this year. Austria, undefeated until the final, suffered its first loss of the tournament, but leaves with an outstanding run. That's all from me this morning. Thanks so much for listening. Stay tuned now to the Intimate playlist until 10 a.m.